If you travel to Moscow, one of the best ways of getting around Moscow is by metro. But because they don't pander to English speakers, everything, all the signs and everything are in Russian. And some people are quite intimidated by this. But once you get the hang of it, it's really quite easy and it's remarkably cheap. And the first thing you need is a good metro map. Most hotels provide this, but it must be in Russian, because when you get down into the metro, all the signs are in Russian. So you don't have to speak Russian, you just have to be able to recognise what these names are. So this is a map of the Moscow metro, and it's very much like metro maps, including the London Tube. There are various coloured lines, but if you're interested in looking at stations, these wonderful stations, then this brown or circular line is the one you want to be on to start with. And this particular map is very useful in that it gives you a sort of English pronunciation of the various names. The stations are easy to identify. There's a great big red M outside on the street. And when you go in, you'll find that they're not very suitable for disabled people in many instances, because there are stairs inside before you get down to the ticket office, and there are no lifts, so that can be quite awkward. So the first thing to do is seek out the ticket office, or KAKA, and when you get there, you buy the tickets. You indicate to the person on the counter how many journeys you want to make, and one journey is you go through the entry barrier at one end, and then you go up and come out of the exit barrier at the other end. That's one journey, and in May 2012 it was 28 rubles. The more journeys you buy, the cheaper it is. So for 28 rubles you can go through an entry barrier, go down into the metro, and you can stay there all day looking at stations before you then emerge and go out through an exit barrier. So having indicated to the ticket seller how many tickets you want, either by using your fingers or writing it down on a piece of paper if you don't speak Russian, they'll load them up onto a magnetic card. And if you're in a group, you don't need a separate ticket for each person. You can have, so if there's 4 of you and you're going to do 5 journeys each, then that's 20 journeys. So you just indicate 20 journeys and you just load it up onto one card. They load your journeys onto. So. Now when you get to the entry barrier, you put your card against the card reader, and the green light goes on, the barrier opens and you walk through. Next to the card reader is a little blue screen, and when you put your card against the card reader, this little blue screen tells you how many journeys you've got left on your ticket, which is quite useful. So if you're in your group, for every person, you put your card against the reader, the person walks through, and you repeat that until they've all gone in, and then you follow them in. So it's quite a simple system in that way, much better than the London Underground. And then of course you descend the escalator to the platform, and when you get down to the platform there are only 2, one going one way, one going the other way, and it indicates on each platform which stations the train travels to, and they're all in Russian. So you have to be able to recognise the name of the station, even if you don't know how to say it, as long as you can recognise the lettering, the Cyrillic lettering. And the trains come along every minute. It's amazing how quickly they come along. The best time to go is, well, I went on Sunday afternoon and it was quite quiet, and evenings are quite quiet up till about 8 o'clock, after which you get the occasional dodgy individual on the tube, which can be a bit disconcerting. Try not to go during the week, particularly when people are travelling backwards and forwards from work, because it's absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. And if you're looking at stations, then it's very, very difficult. When you're on the train, some trains, the more modern trains, have a little electronic device which tells you which station you're travelling between, and so it's quite easy to keep an eye on that and then note where to get off. But many trains don't have that. In fact, some trains don't even have a little map, which you see, for instance, on London Tube. So that the best thing to do is to look at your metro map, decide where you are and which station you're going to, and then count the number of stations in between. So every time the train stops, you knock one off. So if you're travelling 3 stations, you have 3 stops, and then you get off. If it's the wrong station, it doesn't really matter, because you only have to wait about a minute. A train comes and will take you back to the station you want to be on. If you're changing from one coloured line to another coloured line, again, it's quite easy. There are signs on the platform. You just look for, if you're going to say want to change the blue line, you look for the sign telling you in which direction the blue line is. It's coloured, so you just follow that until you get to the blue line station. Most of the more decorative stations, the more architecturally interesting stations, are on the Brown Line, which is probably the oldest. They started building the metro in 1931, and I think the first metro station opened in 1935. But there are some modern stations which are interesting to visit. One of them has the longest metro escalator in the world, and the station itself is quite decorative, albeit only opened in, I think it was the 1990s. But all in all, it's a really worthwhile trip down there. You can spend a good half day down there, wandering around. And if you do find difficulty, then on every platform there seemed to be a uniformed person there, whether they were police or security, I have no idea, but they were very, very helpful. Even if they didn't speak English, they could point you in the right direction. And I had no problems on the metro whatsoever, other than it was a great experience. And this particular website was very, very useful if you want to know a little bit more about how to travel on the metro. And the next video shows you what delights await you once you get down into the metro system. A truly amazing place.